We're very privileged to have a cancer survivor speaker whose commitment to the cause of beating cancer is exceptional. She's a member of an event team, and she has an inspiring message for us. Can you please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Keri Toghia.
First of all, thank you everyone for being here today. It's really important to me and everyone with cancer. A special thank you to my family who came to support me and my friends. January 1st, 2015 was my first New Year's Day as a married woman. While walking the streets of Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World in Florida, my husband asked me what my New Year's resolution was. I had none. It wasn't that my life was perfect, but there wasn't anything I wanted to work on changing. My husband teased me a little, and finally I came up with this. I would say my resolution would be to ride Space Mountain 124 times. You see, Space Mountain is my favorite attraction at my favorite place, and I admit that I was, and still am, a super nerd that keeps track of my number of rides on a spreadsheet on my cell phone. In 2014, I had ridden 123 times, so 124 was my number. I had a resolution, albeit a silly one. A couple days after returning from Florida, I got sick, which was not unusual for me after a long trip and a long plane ride. A week later, thanks to one of those handy Z-Packs, I no longer felt miserably congested, but I still felt miserable. The following week, I realized I had not had a bowel movement in a few days, so I went to the doctor. She suggested a laxative and sent me home. The Miralax worked, but the pain continued. I called my doctor to ask for some help, and she said, well, it must be some residual gas. Take some Gas-X and let me know how that works. Well, the pain continued to get worse. A couple of days later, I went to the urgent care after work. The doctor there suggested I might have some residual stuff stuck and prescribed Linzess, which is normally given to those with chronic idiopathic constipation. 2 days later, I still had no relief, so back to the urgent care I went after work. This time I was given a prescription for Amitiza, yet another constipation medication. Still, I had no relief, so back I went to my regular doctor. This time I was certain that the pain that was concentrated in my lower right abdomen was my appendix slowly rupturing. But my doctor tried to send me home because I didn't have any nausea, vomiting, or fever. She stood firm, telling me that she would not order a scan of my abdomen despite the fact that I begged for one, because I didn't have any of the symptoms, and she said my insurance would not approve it. I almost laughed. She suggested I take my temperature every 3 hours, and if it went up by just 3 degrees, I could go straight to the emergency room where they could order an emergent scan. So I went home, found my thermometer, and started taking my temperature. At this point, the pain was so bad I could barely sit up or lay down, and twisting from side to side was simply out of the question. I knew something was really wrong, but the doctors were not listening. That night when my husband, Tony, got home from work, he fired up the Google machine and started researching to try to figure out the cause of my pain. He found a rare form of appendicitis that presents with no nausea, no vomiting, and no fever. So he printed out the information, and the next morning we headed back to the doctor. This time, based on Tony's research, my doctor ordered a CT scan, but told me I'd have to wait until Monday afternoon, almost a full 4 days later, because I didn't display the normal, typical symptoms of appendicitis. We went home feeling relief that we might finally have some answers, but just in case, I kept taking my temperature every hour. Monday finally came. I tried to work in the morning, but the pain was just too severe. At 3, I headed to the facility for my scan. Including the wait time, I was in and out of that facility in under an hour. At 5:30, my doctor called me, and for the rest of my life, I'll remember the words that came next. Keri, The scan found an 18 centimeter tumor attached to your right ovary. It is most likely cancer. Do you have a pen? I need to give you some names of some gynecological oncologists for you to get in touch with right away. What followed that was a whirlwind. What I remember was being held by my husband, being totally scared and dreadful, and knowing that I had to call and tell my parents and my sister that I might have cancer. I remember the comfort and support I was given by my family, my extended family, and my good friends. And I remember the pressure I felt to select the right doctor. We stayed up all night researching. And the next morning, after a lot of family discussion on where to go, Tony, my mom, and I hopped in the car and drove to the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix. The next day, I met the woman to whom I owe my life, Dr. Christina Butler. 5 days after that, I had extensive surgery to remove almost all of the component parts of my abdomen. And that was the beginning of my cancer journey. So why did I share all of that with you? Well, I think it's important to share my diagnosis story with everybody for 2 reasons. First, to encourage you to listen to your body. When you know something is wrong, do not take no for an answer. Had I stopped after visit 1, 2, 3, or even 4, I would not be here today. Secondly, to encourage you to share all new issues you're experiencing with your doctor, and I mean all of them. Not just what you make your doctor's appointment for, not just the most pressing issues, but all of them. Had I only told my doctor of my frequent need to urinate, or how many times on the trip to Walt Disney World at the end of 2014, I barely made it to the bathroom on time because the need to go to the bathroom came on so urgently and suddenly. Had I only told her that frequently I was really, really hungry and I would go to eat, have one bite, and be totally full. I wish I would have said something, because had I only said these issues to my doctor, she might have recognized them as the very, very classic symptoms of ovarian cancer, and I might have been diagnosed earlier than stage 4. For those of you currently battling cancer, please find a way to stay positive. Find something to look forward to. When the road seems long and daunting, try just to break it up into smaller or manageable increments. For me, my sister Hillary was the one that helped me do this by suggesting that I look at the length of my treatment as 8 mani-pedis. To make it more fun, she sent me in the mail, because she lives out of the country, she sent me a box every couple weeks with a brand new color of nail polish. And each one had a cute name. My favorite was the very first one, a very, very bright yellow color that was called When Life Gives You Lemons. Spending many hours researching designs on Pinterest prior to each nail appointment was something I really began to look forward to. If you want to see the 8 designs of my cancer journey, I have them printed out at the Squash Cancer booth. You can check them out later today. I had so many kind and wonderful things done for me during my cancer treatments by family and friends. Too many to list all of them here today. So I will limit myself and share 4 things that help me to keep a positive outlook that you can do for a family member or friend that's also battling cancer. These are things that you might not think would make a difference, because if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have said, I don't think they would. But now, having gone through this cancer journey, I can tell you that even the most smallest things can lift a cancer patient's spirits and help them face their battle head on. First, my parents held a photo shoot with my sweet kitty Tansy. So when I was in the hospital, I had my little adorable ball of fluff with me. The coolest part was at the photo shoot, they had ordered teal ovarian cancer awareness bracelets, and they encouraged her to play with them. So watching her play with the little ovarian cancer bracelets in photos was awesome. Sorry, stuck. Second, my Aunt Nancy spearheaded a poster contest between all of my cousins and their kids, at least those that were old enough to participate. Each poster was a reminder of how much I was loved and what a great support system I had behind and beside me. I hung each of those posters in my front room where I spent most every day with those command strips. I augmented those by hanging all of the cards of support that I'd received from family and friends with that blue sticky teacher's penny. You know the stuff I'm talking about. Being surrounded by these positive affirmations every day really helped me to keep a positive outlook, and then I had a visible reminder that I had something worth fighting for. Third, my friends utilized technology to remind me via text, Facebook, and email that I had a support system. One friend specifically sent me a funny picture or story every single day via text. On the days I was feeling terrible, I would just smile and let the text sit there. On days that I was feeling good, I'm not crying, Liz. On the days that I was feeling good, it was the start of a conversation about the photo or the story, or sometimes something altogether different. Let me tell you, it's nice to have conversations that don't center around cancer. That's not to say that all of the texts and calls and love that I received from my friends asking me how I was doing weren't important and weren't valued. They absolutely were. But having something that wasn't cancer related every once in a while was a true dream. Another one of my friends even dreamed up a new hashtag for me. I became hashtag Keri Strong. This hashtag became a personal mantra for me and still is today. Finally, I had family and friends who helped me concentrate on achieving the goals I'd set for myself before cancer. At the time of my diagnosis on February 2nd of last year, I had only ridden Space Mountain 3 times year to date. To help me meet my New Year's resolution, my parents and my husband took me to Disneyland as frequently as my body could tolerate. My parents took me every morning of the beginning of my chemo cycle. We would go and kill time at Disneyland waiting for the hospital to call to say there was a bed available. My husband would take me on the weekends, even pushing me in a wheelchair we'd borrowed from my friend Erica when I didn't have the strength to walk. By the time I was determined to be cancer-free on August 9th, I had 27 rides under my belt. Between then and when I returned to work, I became a true Space Mountain junkie. I would ride multiple times per day, several days a week. I'm happy to say that I met my goal of 124 rides on November 16th of last year, and I finished the year with 131 rides. If you've ridden Space Mountain before, you know they take those cool ride photos. If you want to see some of my 131 ride photos, I also have those at the Squash Cancer booth. Some of them are pretty epic. Uh-oh. I hope that was a sheet I already read. I don't think so. Uh-oh, thanks! Woohoo, thank you! I should have stapled them together. Thank you! So at times my journey has been a struggle, but it's one that I'm committed to winning. I endured 6 rounds of traditional IV chemotherapy, 4 rounds of intraperitoneal or IP chemo, and 4 surgeries spanning the course of 191 days. On August 9th of last year, I heard the most awesome news from Dr. Butler. I was cancer-free. After 6 months of being cancer-free, my CA-125, which is the tracking blood test, started to rise, and last week I was told that the cancer has returned. This time it's returned as a few spots on my liver. I'm not sure yet how they're going to treat me. The Mayo Clinic is evaluating different treatment options, including clinical trials. So I'm waiting and praying for the right decision to be made for my treatment. But I can tell you this, no matter what they choose, I will not give in to cancer. I won't. It won't happen. I will beat cancer, and I will remain to be Keri Strong.